Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back into another edition of Jake's Takes. I am your host, Jake Masucci. And today we are talking about all things March Madness. We're going to go through the full bracket, give you my quick thoughts on each game, each positioning, comparing it with my bracket, comparing it with my terrible bracket. Um, yeah, if you've been following on the Instagram, I've been putting on my story how Asher and I have been doing with our picks. I think we're a first round podcast. I really do. I think if you want to know what to pick in the first round, especially with Asher, Asher was a stud with his picks. He went 14-2 both days in the first round, which is really, really impressive. Only having 4 losses in the first round. You will take that. Yeah, I mean, we looked great. I felt really, really good going into Saturday, and then Saturday things blew up. I only have 5 8 teams remaining, which is not great. I only have 3 of my Final Four in because my dark horse Final Four team did not make it. I still love my Creighton Blue Jays, though. I think that was a great pick. They played their hearts out. They hit 14 threes for me against Auburn, and Auburn still looks like a really good team. And I will get into all of that in this podcast, but it's great to have March Madness back. I'm super excited. Uh, kind of wish we could have gotten a little bit better games. I think it's been a little better in the past, but overall, I think the Maryland buzzer beater kind of saved it for me, which is nice. But we'll get into all of that right in a second. I'm gonna cue the music. All right, let's get right into the bracket. Let's start talking about it. So, South, let's go with Auburn's bracket. Okay, Auburn, Alabama State didn't really surprise me, but the one thing I will say about this game is I was kind of shocked about how Alabama State stayed in the game. Auburn didn't really play a great first half. Janai Broome hasn't played great at all in any of these games. So Alabama State, credit to them, they really played hard and didn't go away. That was not just a 20-point game. Alabama State was down 2 at halftime, and Auburn wasn't playing great. It made me feel great about my Creighton Blue Jays, who were unbelievable in a dominant game against Louisville. And then at halftime of this Auburn game, we're winning by 2. They played a sensational game, hit almost every three you could ask for. It was everything I could ask for in an upset pick because they were awesome. They just ran into Auburn, who looks like the best team again. They were absolute studs. I mean, their guards, Pettiford, Kelly, and Denver Jones are just studs, all 3 of them. I really think Auburn is the clear favorite in this bracket if they're playing this well. If they play that well, nobody can beat them. Creighton shot the lights out. They hit 14 threes in the game. If you hit 14 threes, you got a chance. But the fact that Auburn, without their best player, Janai Broome, playing well, can still do that is just sensational. And it really makes me think that it's hard to pick against Auburn in this bracket. Okay, moving down a little bit, Michigan, UC San Diego. I would pick UC San Diego 10 times out of 10 again. Okay, they were the epitome of what Michigan could not be, but UC San Diego played one of their worst games this season, especially in the first half. They were awful. Right away, they came back in the second half, made it a close game. Really, were all over Michigan. It was a great game. Great game, but Michigan was able to sneak out of this. This was a big credit to Michigan because they did not play well. They turned it over a lot. Trey Donaldson hit that big 3, and gosh, he just continues to make big plays for Michigan. Really incredible there. And then Texas A&M, Yale. I didn't think Yale had enough this year. They just didn't have much when I watched them. So that was part of the reason I picked A&M pretty easily there. And A&M got the job done pretty easily. Wade Taylor not playing the best. And that's what I'm going to talk about here with this Michigan-Texas A&M game. Texas A&M controlled the game. They were grabbing every single offensive rebound. They were all over the place, really controlling things. Credit to Michigan here. Really just bouncing back, with 10 minutes left, down 10, and just dominating the game to close it. Especially talking from an Oakland sense, we had plenty of games where we looked like one of the best teams for 30 minutes. But if you can't close the game, you can't close the game. You don't win. And that's what happened to Texas A&M here. Wade Taylor struggled. The other guys really, I thought, stepped up for Texas A&M throughout the game. And then with the last 10 minutes left, like the offense just disappeared for them. And they couldn't defend either. Like Wolf and Golden were awesome. Trey Donaldson, Rodney Gale, dude, like really, really stepped up. He had been struggling throughout the whole year. Awesome 26-point performance and a big time win for Michigan. This Michigan Auburn game will be good. I'm excited for it. Michigan has 2 7-footers to combat Broom and Backfield, I think is his last name, but he's a stud. But I got Auburn in this one. Auburn's playing at a ridiculous clip. I think it'll be really difficult for Michigan. They'll have to hit every three and play the best game that they've played all year to win this game. All right, let's look at the bottom. Ole Miss is the story. Okay. They went through and made the Sweet 16 out of this. They look awesome. This was, I texted Asher throughout the games and I was like, this is the team I most regret not picking because they look sensational, have been going off, hitting every three. UNC made a late push against them to come all the way back and make it a really, really close game. But goodness gracious, like Padilla, their point guard, is just an absolute stud. You know, he's doing so much for them. And then their bigs look awesome. Absolutely awesome. Iowa State, I feel bad for Iowa State. They looked really good in that first game against Lipscomb, absolutely dominated. And then the next game, like they just ran into a really, really hot Ole Miss team. Ole Miss had hit 13 threes and just looked sensational throughout the whole game. Weren't missing many shots, and they were just bigger than Iowa State. Really controlled the glass. And you could tell with Iowa State, they were just missing that 1-2 punch with Gilbert. It was what a lot of people were worried about. But, I think Iowa State, if they can finally come into a tournament healthy, I think with what their coach has done, they've done a sensational job. All right, the bottom, New Mexico, I thought was clearly the better team than Marquette, so a big time win for New Mexico to get there. Alabama or Michigan State beating Bryant. There wasn't too much there. Bryant played a tough game. Phil Martelli Jr., shout out to him. Incredible season for Bryant. And then this Michigan State New Mexico game that happened last night. Really a great game. New Mexico was leading the game throughout. I picked New Mexico in this one. And to be honest, like I still feel good about it. Donovan Dent did not play a great game. Michigan State had a great game plan. You know, they changed bigs on him. They on Junior, the Nelly Jr. for New Mexico. And then Donovan Dent struggled. Michigan State switched different guards on him as well, like showing different looks and showing that depth for Michigan State was so key in this game. And they flat out dominated doing that. Credit to Michigan State there. They looked fantastic. Looking at the rest, so it's Michigan State, Ole Miss. This is tough. I mean, this is really, really tough. I don't want to pick against Spartans anymore, so I'm going to go Spartans, but I do think Ole Miss is really, really scary. You know, they're big, they're tough, they're shooting at a ridiculous clip. I don't think it continues. I think Michigan State's defense can't stifle them, and I think we're going to see a Michigan State Auburn Elite Eight matchup. If I had to choose between that one, I just don't think anybody's beating Auburn anymore the way they're playing, so I'm going to go Auburn. It's not a discount to Michigan and Michigan State. Incredible years, and I didn't pick for either of them. More to zag against all of the Detroit bracket pools I'm in. But credit to these two. They brought Michigan basketball back and are looking sensational here, both with Sweet 16 appearances. Again, you're just running into two SEC schools that are awesome. I got Michigan State beating Ole Miss, but Auburn is looking like the best team in basketball again. So if I'm seeing that, I'm pretty scared, not going to lie. Okay, let's go down to the West here. Florida dominated Norfolk State. I didn't watch this game that much, but Walter Clayton Jr. has looked awesome. UConn with a sensational win. Jeremiah Fears is a stud. Okay, absolute stud. And I didn't know until this weekend that he was Jeremy Fears' brother. Yeah, I mean, he's a stud. I think NBA teams should definitely be looking at him. He played unbelievable in this Oklahoma UConn game. UConn with a big win. Liam McNeely, I love him. I love him. Okay. And UConn really played Florida close, was leading this game for the most part, like really controlled it. But credit to Florida to get the job done. Walter Clayton Jr. hit some huge, huge threes and controlled the game. And Dan Hurley, man, a little disappointing how he keeps complaining about stuff. I actually like him. I like his mentality. I like how he approaches coaching. But some of the stuff he's been doing is really bothersome. I just don't think he needs to do it. So a little frustrating there. All right, let's look at the next one. Memphis, Colorado State. I was disappointed in Memphis to not be able to get the job done. Dane Danjo was unbelievable in this game, dominating it from the jump. PJ Haggerty just played the worst game probably of his career. He was awful, and you could just see that Memphis needed Harper, Tyrese Hunter. Tyrese Hunter. Sorry. They needed him. Okay. He was trying to show leadership, not being on the floor. But when you run into a Colorado State team with Nick Clifford that looks awesome, like he was a stud throughout it. This was one of the upset teams I did not pick. Big credit to Colorado State because they were unbelievable, as we'll talk about, with Maryland dominating Grand Canyon, just smoked them from the start, looked awesome in this game. So then it sets up Maryland and Colorado State. And this was probably the game of the second round yesterday. These two teams played awesome throughout the whole game. Derek Queen was stud throughout it. Reese was incredible on the big line for Maryland, and Maryland was hitting threes. They were all over the place. Colorado State did not shoot well, but they played a fantastic game. Lake hit a big shot late as they were down to 70-68. 10 seconds left. They call timeout. Try to get Clifford in the post. Clifford hits Lake on the opposite wing. Lake drills a three with 5 seconds left. Maryland goes down 3.8, calls timeout. And then they just get to their best player, Derek Queen, and he makes a play. Our first buzzer beater of the tournament. He was sensational in this game, and it was a sensational shot. You know, it got us up off our feet when we were watching. I was watching with my fam on that one, and it was really incredible shot. Big credit to Maryland there, getting the job done. They're an unbelievable team. I think this Maryland-Florida game is going to be awesome. You know, you got great bigs at Maryland, and Florida has been playing really, really well. I have Florida barely getting out of this one, but Maryland is scary. They're really, really scary. They finally got out of those buzzer beater woes that they've been in. I think Ash and I talked about it, how they had lost. If you go into close games, they had lost like 4 straight times on buzzer beaters. It's been awful for them. So looking at it that way, I think it's going to be a closer game, but I got Florida. I think Walter Clayton Jr. is the best player on the floor, college player wise. Okay. Moving down the bracket, Drake, Missouri. Drake was awesome. Bennett Sturts, stud, absolute stud. He looked fantastic in this one. They dominated this one. You know, Missouri made a late push, but I thought Drake had control throughout the whole game and looked great. I thought it was a clear pick to pick Drake here. And then Texas Tech, UNC Wilmington. Credit to UNC Wilmington. They really shot the lights out from three and made this a really close game. I was sweating this one with the Michigan UC San Diego, especially with me having Texas Tech in my championship game. You know, Texas Tech looked awesome here. Texas Tech able to get the job done overall. And, you know, really credit to them. Like they looked sensational. Credit to JT Toppin, man, especially as we get to this next round in their game against Drake. Like, holy cow, he was awesome. Drake could not handle how big Toppin was inside, and they really smoked him from the jump in this one. They were controlling this one. Drake would make late pushes. Sturts would hit a couple shots. Drake was hitting their threes in this game, and Texas Tech just kept responding. It was interesting with Texas Tech. They took 39 threes in their first game. And then against Drake, they realized, oh, we're just way bigger than them. Let's just pound them inside. And Williams and JT Toppin did a fantastic job having 25 apiece, these two, and just flat out smoking them. And Drake hit threes, but like it didn't matter. You know, they had a couple guys with over 2 or 3 threes, and it really didn't matter. Texas Tech was all over them. They went from 39 3-point attempts in the first game to like 12 in the second game. It really shows you that Texas Tech can play in multiple ways, and that's part of the reason why I like them. I really like them. You know, I have Florida and Texas Tech in my Elite Eight in this bracket, and I'm keeping that, and I'm keeping Texas Tech winning this. You know, even with that UNC Wilmington game, I wasn't worried because I was like, okay, if they can change their style, if they can play through JT Toppin, I really like them still, and I still like them. You know, they're awesome. Okay, moving forward. Kansas, Arkansas. This game was fun. I think it was one of the more fun games in the first round, but Kansas, man, like really, really disappointing season. You're the AP number one team, and you come out with a first round loss as a 7 seed to Arkansas. It's just not a great season for them. Credit to Arkansas, their bigs looked awesome. Adu was incredible in this one. Wagner's playing better. He's playing better. There's times where he won't finish at the rim, but overall, I think he's playing better. Boogie Fland getting back in the lineup, doing some stuff for them. So credit to Arkansas there. Big win there. And then St. John's dominated Omaha. Jonah's pick was not right. It looked great after the first media timeout with Omaha up 10-0. But tough one for St. John's, just dominated. Dominated. Okay. Arkansas and St. John's. Arkansas got the job done in this one, and you could tell with St. John's, like the athleticism Arkansas had really bothered them. They didn't really see a team that was as athletic as them throughout the season, and Arkansas was really athletic, was all over the place, getting in on them. Brazil was incredible. Just multiple guys getting in on plays for Arkansas was a big part of this. I love Zuby Ejiofor on St. John's. He was incredible throughout the whole game, was guarding every position at a high level. The guards could not get downhill on him, and it was more because of him. NBA scouts, please go get this man. He is incredible. I really, really like him. I think he'll be a really elite backup big, maybe even starting big in the NBA. I think he's that impressive. He's got to develop a jump shot a little bit, but he can guard every position in the book, and he's 6'9", and he's big, and he rebounds. I think he's awesome for St. John's. I think NBA teams should be looking at him more than they are. Arkansas, big time win here. Calipari, this is how you respond to the Oakland loss last year. This is how you respond to Kentucky kicking you out. Really, really impressive. Great job from Cal. Okay. Texas Tech, Arkansas. I have Texas Tech here. Nothing against this Arkansas run, but I think Texas Tech here just has a little too much talent. I think their bigs are a little better. I think JT Toppin is incredible. I think Williams is incredible. I think they'll be able to hit their threes, and that's why I have Texas Tech. And then I have Texas Tech over Florida because that same reason. I think JT Toppin will play at that level. I think their guards have been playing really, really well and will be able to defend Walter Clayton. I think Walter Clayton will be really, really tough to deal with. It might be one of the best games we see in the tournament, but I have Texas Tech winning against Florida. We're going to take a little break and then be back at you in a sec.
Welcome, everybody, to the Jomo Show, your home for Oakland sports and beyond from WXOU. My name is Giovanni Mosheri, and I am the host of the one and only show that covers the Oakland University Golden Grizzlies each and every week. Subscribe to the Jomo Show for weekly interviews with athletes and coaches, for a recap of the week's action at OU, and whatever else is going on in the sports world. You can tune in on 88.3 FM, WXOU, or wherever you get your podcasts each week. Go Golden Grizzlies on the Jomo Show.
All right, let's switch over to the East here now. This is Duke's 116 matchup. Cooper Flagg just looked awesome. There's not much to add here. He just looked incredible throughout the whole game and dominated that one. And it was the same with Baylor. Baylor, incredible win against Mississippi State. That was a fun game in the first round. I was disappointed in Mississippi State, but shouldn't have picked them. Shouldn't have picked them. That's on me. But Duke, Baylor just didn't stand a chance throughout this game. I think Baylor really overachieved with a tournament win this year. They're 19-14 throughout the year and didn't get the job done with a pretty hard schedule. So credit to them for getting a win in March. But overall here, I'm not too surprised here. Duke just dominated. There's not much really to say here. And Duke looks like the easy favorite coming out of this bracket already. Okay, Oregon, Liberty. Liberty didn't have a chance. Anna Altman does not take these games lightly at all, these first round games, and they smoked them 81-52. It was a domination. Same with Arizona. Arizona just smoked them from the start. Credit to my guy, Trey Townsend, who looked awesome in this game. 16 points, 8 rebounds, who was great in this game. And it set up a great matchup in Arizona, Oregon. I watched the first half of this game. Oregon went in hot. Jackson Sheffield is awesome. It was a really, really incredible game. Arizona with Carter Bryant coming off the bench. He was incredible in this one. NBA scouts are drooling over him, and I really like him. I like him as well. That was the most I've watched of him. I've watched Arizona a lot more just to watch Trey's minutes, but Carter Bryant is incredible. He is a stud. His wing that can do multiple things, and I really think he's impressive here. And a big time win for Arizona. I was trusting Dana Altman here, and I told Tommy Lloyd to prove to me that he can win 2 games in March, and there you go. That's a great win against Oregon. Now he's going against Duke. Going to be really, really difficult there. I don't think they stand much of a chance, and I got Duke beating Arizona. And then I actually have Duke beating Alabama here, but we'll talk about the bottom half of the bracket. Yeah, so BYU over VCU. BYU, I told you I didn't watch that much of, and I should have. They're incredible. Like they're shooting the lights out in this tournament and look really, really good. Wisconsin over Montana, not much surprise there. Asher kind of talked me into Montana a little bit. I did pick them in one bracket just to have some fun there, but they just didn't have enough size to compete with Wisconsin on that end. Then you get a good BYU Wisconsin matchup. Wisconsin kept it close. Tanjay was unbelievable. But BYU, man, Igor Demon, he's a stud. He's a stud. It's the most I've watched of him, and I wanted to watch him as well. He is definitely a top 10 pick. Absolute stud. I really, really like what he can do. He's a great passer. He rebounds. He's very switchable. I really like him. I think he's a stud. So big time win for BYU that moves them to play Alabama in the next round. Alabama didn't look great against Robert Morris. Really back and forth game, and I mean, I was talking bad about the Colonials. My bad, Colonials. The Robert Morris's back cutting was really a problem for Alabama throughout the whole game, and that was a problem when they played us. We had to be locked in our zone to be able to combat their cutting because it doesn't stop. And that's part of the reason we lost the game. We had control of the game, but their cutting does not stop, and they do a great job of it. Credit to Andy Toole on a fantastic season for Robert Morris. St. Mary's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt had control throughout the whole game. St. Mary's got hot late and took it. Absolutely took it. That was a big time win there. Ash and I talked about this St. Mary's Alabama game for a while, that St. Mary's could keep it close, but they had to shoot well. In this game, they did not shoot well. Alabama controlled it from the jump. Really credit to Mark Sears, who played a good game, and the rest of the crew. Alabama was all over the place. They were throwing lobs. It was really impressive to watch. Bama looks pretty good. So Bama BYU here. I'm looking at this and I really, really think it's going to be a close game. And I could see it going either way. The thing is, I feel like BYU, like the run ends here. Like I feel like Bama has enough bigs to contend there. And I feel like Sears has just been awesome throughout. I think he's the best player and he will be the difference maker in this one. A lot of people were against Alabama. I was one of the few that had them in my Elite Eight. I'm going to stick with it. So I got Duke, Alabama in my next round. And then I don't think Alabama is enough to compete with Duke. So I got Duke in my Final Four at that end. So that would be 2-1 seeds right now, which I hate doing. God, but it is what it is. It is what it is at this point. Okay. So the Midwest, last bracket. Let's get right into it. So Houston, SIU. Houston dominated from the jump. There's not much there to discuss. Gonzaga, Georgia. I thought Georgia's size could be a little bit of an issue, but Gonzaga came into this game smoking hot. They were up 19-2 at one point and just flat out smoked them in this game. It was a really impressive performance from Gonzaga. Led to them playing Houston, and this was a good game. Houston was hot throughout the game. LJ Cryer was great. They controlled a bigger lead. And then Gonzaga slowly came back and cut it to 2 late. And you were like, man, like, can Gonzaga steal this game? And then Houston with another answer to the bell, hit a 3 to end the game. Houston won 81-76. It lived up to the hype, I think. A lot of people thought it would be a good game. I think we wish that it came down to a last shot, kind of like Maryland, Colorado State. But it is what it is. I thought it was a great game. There, credit to Houston for winning this game. McNeese, Clemson, Amir Khan, stud, absolute stud. Um, a great thing for student managers what he's doing there. McNeese with a big dub here, 13 points at halftime for Clemson. That's crazy, flat out crazy. And then Clemson really came all the way back, kept it close, and McNeese barely snuck out of this one. Clemson had a good year, but this is a tough pill to swallow to lose to McNeese here. I mean, Clemson definitely could have made a run here. So difficult pill to swallow after a great season from Clemson last year. Purdue High Point. High Point, a lot of people liked. Credit to Purdue. Purdue was sensational in this game. Braden Smith, okay game, but it was more Trey Kaufman-Renn. Purdue had 45 rebounds in this game, really just smoked him on the glass and looked great. So good on Purdue there. This was the first second round game of Purdue McNeese, and Purdue controlled it from the jump. McNeese didn't have much to compete with Purdue on that end. So credit to Purdue getting the job done there. If you're looking at McNeese, great season. Now everybody's headed to NC State. Yeah, no, I mean, there's not much to say here. Like McNeese made the tournament 2 times in a row, and a big time win for them against Clemson. Like getting a win like that for that program is huge. Trust me, I know with the Oakland win last year. Okay, Illinois, Xavier. His game I didn't watch too much, but from what I saw, Illinois was hitting their threes, and they're one of the most dangerous offensive teams when they get hot. So, big time for Illinois getting a tournament win because they've been inconsistent throughout the whole year. I had really, really high expectations for them, and Will Riley seemed to be the hero here, who's a guy I've talked about in the past who I really like. He'll probably end up going late now in the draft, but yeah, so big time win for Illinois. And then Kentucky's the story here because even without some of their guys, they've looked sensational. They got the job done against Illinois. They got the job done against Troy, and their offense is just moving at a great peak, And that's what I was concerned about with Illinois. They don't defend the ball great, and Kentucky has a great offense. So I didn't think it was a great matchup for Illinois in that sense, and that's part of the reason I actually picked Kentucky to make the Sweet 16 no matter what. So then that kind of leads us to Tennessee Kentucky rematch here. Wofford kept it close with Tennessee, like good on Wofford there. UCLA dominated Utah State, kind of tough for my guy Calhoun, who Utah State came out the jump really hot and then struggled to finish the year. Credit to them making the tournament, getting a 10 seed. That's a big time year for them. Just couldn't get the job. UCLA is a tough draw there as a 7 seed. And then Tennessee, UCLA. Tennessee controlled it. They defended the ball really well against UCLA. UCLA cannot get their offense going at all. And, Tennessee looks like one of the most scary teams in the tournament. Looking at my bracket, originally I had Tennessee going up against Gonzaga in my Elite Eight and Tennessee winning. And now Houston's in it. So if I'm looking at it, I got Tennessee over Kentucky still. If you're looking at their 2 games of the regular season, Kentucky beat them twice, and Kentucky didn't miss a 3. So if that game happens, I'm going Tennessee because it's really, really hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. So I'm going Tennessee there. And then if we're looking at Houston and Purdue, I don't think Purdue has enough to combat the physicality of Houston's defense. So I'm going another one too. This has been a chalk year, and I'm really disappointed in it because a lot of the time we should get madness. And the funny thing is sometimes I've had my bracket go chalk, and sometimes I've had my bracket have upsets. And I feel like every year I go upsets, it's chalk, and every year it's a chalk. I pick a chalk bracket, it's an upset team. So we'll figure it out. We got plenty of years to do this. Yeah, but I mean, March Madness is great. It's awesome. Those sitting on the couch for those first, like that first Thursday, first Friday, it's just awesome. I didn't get that experience last year because I was a part of it, which was awesome too. but it's good to be back. Just saying. Okay, so Tennessee, Houston. I want to stick with my 3 Final Four teams that remain. So I'm going to go Tennessee here. I actually think this is a tough matchup for Tennessee because I think Houston's a little more athletic and a little more gifted on that defensive end. And I also think they've shown me enough offensively with LJ Cryer and some of their shooters that like my my mind tells me to go Houston, but my heart tells me to stick with my picks. So I'm going Tennessee. So yeah, that leaves me with just Auburn as my other team coming out because Creighton was my other pick. So it would be Auburn, Texas Tech, and Duke, Tennessee are my new Final Four teams there. All right, that is going to wrap up the show for today. Yeah, March Madness. March Madness, man. I love it. I love it. Going through the whole bracket, yeah, it kind of makes me miss us being there, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Looking forward on Jake's takes. Thursday, I have Marty Hannon on. We're talking Marvel Comics. Yeah, it was good to take a little break from sports and kind of do a detour. We recorded this one last week. We watched Captain America and we're like, let's do another podcast. So we recorded that one and I'm throwing that one out there on Thursday. So we're Tuesday, Thursday for a little while. I think the plan is we'll do a reaction show to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight on Tuesday. And then we'll go from there. NBA content's going to be really rolling then soon. So Ace Bailey scouting report is in the works as well. And we're going to continue with that stuff. If you have any suggestions, anything you want to say about the show, please give me an email, to DM me on Instagram, whatever, anything to help out the show. I really, really appreciate, and any thoughts I will definitely take into consideration. Yeah, so that's going to wrap up the show for today. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, wherever you're at. Please like, subscribe on YouTube, and give us those 5 stars on Spotify. I'll be back at you guys soon. Peace.